seriousness and detail, I think is the way to end this war for now.
Thank you. And Ms. Shaheen, can you just offer your view on the American position? And are you worried that that Donald Trump, who obviously is is pushing for a peace deal, he wants to be able to say that he's managed to negotiate these two sides, and it's absolutely right what Minister Sybiha said, that we wouldn't be in this situation had it not been for the pressure from the Trump administration on the two sides to get talking. But are you worried that that desire for an outcome could lead to the American side putting undue pressure on the Ukrainians to accept a deal that is not in Ukraine's favour, including giving up the whole of the Donbass, and without doing that American security guarantees won't be forthcoming?
Well, I am worried, like I assume everybody here is worried about what the outcome of any peace agreement would be. And we have a very large bipartisan delegation here from the Senate mostly, but also from the House. We're having this little funding issue in the U.S., which you may be following, that's keeping many of our House members away. But we are here because we support Ukraine. I would echo, as I'm sure everyone would, all of the comments of the panelists here about the importance of what Ukraine has done, not just for Ukraine, but for Europe, for democracies around the world. And I want to make sure that whatever outcome happens, it's one that Ukrainians are comfortable with, and one that ensures that Vladimir Putin and Russia are not going to reinvade Ukraine or any other NATO country or any other European country for that matter. And I think I applaud Donald Trump for, and I'm not a member of his party, but I applaud the effort to get the parties to the table. But the United States and this Trump administration should have put much more pressure, should be putting more pressure on Vladimir Putin. We have legislation in the Senate with 85 co-sponsors that would put severe secondary sanctions on those countries that do business with Russia. We need to pass that. We need to ensure that there is a price to pay for supporting Russia's war machine. I serve as the top Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. We've passed out in recent weeks 4 pieces of legislation that should send a message to Russia about how elected officials in the United States are feeling. One would designate Russia a state sponsor of terrorism for its kidnapping of Ukrainian children. Should never be allowed in the free world to say that that's acceptable, and Russia needs to pay a price for that. It would sanction Chinese companies that are supporting Russia's war machine. It would allow us in the United States to use the seized assets from Russia to support Ukraine. And Congress has just passed an appropriations bill that provides $400 million in funding that was not requested by the Trump administration, but that Congress put in because we thought it was important, and significant funding for continued intelligence efforts, intelligence sharing with Ukraine. So the support is there in the United States. We need to make sure it continues. And as you pointed out so well, it's, as did everyone, this is not just about European security. This is about America's security. And we know that the person who is watching as closely as Vladimir Putin what happens in Ukraine is President Xi in China. And if he thinks that the West is going to walk away from Ukraine, he is absolutely sure we're going to walk away from Taiwan, and we're not going to defend the Indo-Pacific. And meeting with officials from the Indo-Pacific about their concerns, they are very real. And so what we're doing in supporting Ukraine is ensuring that we send a message to dictators around the world that the free world is not going to accept what they're doing.
This is my last question before I open up the floor, so get thinking about the questions you'd like to ask. And just one more time for Mr. Sybiha. Your defence minister at the NATO meeting, well, it was the Ukraine contact group meeting after the NATO meeting in Brussels yesterday, he talked, well, I asked him about the impact of that decision by Elon Musk and his Starlink company to switch off those Starlink systems that the Russians have been using on Ukrainian territory to attack Ukraine, and he sort of signalled that it, what effect that was having on Russian operations, and he signalled it was having a pretty significant effect, and that Ukraine has more asymmetric tricks up its sleeves. Last year, Donald Trump infamously told your president that Ukraine doesn't have the cards. Do you think now, actually, Ukraine is increasingly having a pretty healthy stack of cards, and actually you could be changing Donald Trump's impression of Ukraine's chances, and that could change the whole dynamic when it comes to this negotiation process?
I can't demonstrate you cards because I didn't take them with me, but we definitely have